Hi guys, the holiday season is finally done. We had our last party a couple of days ago, and now I have a bunch of things that I want to preserve and get packed away so that I'm not constantly nibbling them. Like for example, chips. If I have chips in my pantry, I'm gonna eat them and I'm not gonna stop eating them. So I did get these ones put into a jar. The jar was full, but I keep opening up the jar. So I need to actually vacuum seal this. I'll get it put down into my basement and kind of out of sight, and then hopefully I won't be as tempted. So I can vacuum seal my chips, I can vacuum seal crackers. I'm also gonna freeze a few things. So I'm just gonna give you some ideas. If you don't have a vacuum sealer, I would highly recommend that you get a vacuum sealer. If you don't want to get the full unit that vacuum seals bags, you can always just get a jar attachment or a jar sealer, and that is really, really handy as well. I love to be able to store things in glass as opposed to plastic containers. So yeah, let's get started. Let's pack my stuff away, then I won't be able to eat these. All right, so here we go. Basic party type snacks that were opened and now need to be resealed so that they don't go stale right away. There's chips, pretzel crisps, these things that I'm not even sure that I like. Has anyone tried these from Costco? I am still on the fence. I thought that I liked them. I had them at a party in the summer, and then I didn't see them again until about a month ago at Costco. Bought them, and they don't taste the same as they did last summer for some reason. I have more crackers here. I have some cookies that I'll probably freeze because just like the chips, if these are sitting in the pantry, I know we're just gonna keep eating them. Then in my fridge, I have some deli meat and cheese, and I'll take care of that once I get through this. And here we are in my pantry, and this is where my food saver is. And then I have the attachments for vacuum sealing jars in this handy little drawer. And so now I'm going to start sealing the jars. One thing to consider if you're reusing lids is that you want to give them a little sniff test, make sure they don't really smell like pickles or something. I usually throw the lids away that I've used for canning anything that has a strong smell to it, because you don't want that smell to then transfer to whatever dried goods you're vacuum sealing. So this looks like I just had tomato sauce in it. I'm going to wipe the rim of this jar. I want to make sure there's no little crumbs or debris sitting on the rim that'll interfere with the seal. My lid goes on. My vacuum sealer attachment goes on. Okay, get it plugged in and vacuum seal. And here we go. All of these jars are now vacuum sealed. They are going to stay fresh for several months. It really is a fantastic way to keep everything from going stale. Now I'm going to get the rings on and get them down to my pantry. Right, so here we are in the pantry, and there are all of the jars that we just vacuum sealed. Those are going to stay fresh for months. I also vacuum seal all of these dried goods, my oats, my steel cut oats, brown rice, basmati rice, mushrooms that are dehydrated, etc., etc. So I definitely, oh, and there's even more. I also, if we just spin around here, if you didn't see my pantry organizing and cleaning video, I also vacuum seal all of the spices and herbs that I dehydrate from my garden in the summer, and that keeps them fresh for a long time. The dry ingredients are taken care of and they're down in the pantry. Now let's deal with the stuff in the fridge. All right, here are the things I pulled out of the fridge that need to be preserved. Well, mushrooms, carrot sticks, and cucumber. These are just extra that I had prepared to put on my veggie platter when I had my party. Just to be clear though, none of this was out on the veggie platter. Anything that was left out at the end of the night was basically thrown away. So vegetables, cheese, meat, dips, all of that type of thing that sat out for 7 hours was thrown in the garbage. This is just the extra stuff that I had all prepared in my fridge in case I needed to add more to my platter. So I think I'm just going to I could blanch these and freeze them, or I could maybe I could make a stir fry tonight. That'd be a good idea. Then I can use the carrots. I can use this. Cucumber, I'll just use in a salad tonight, but it's still perfectly fine. This cheese, again, it did not sit out of the fridge. It was in the fridge, ready to throw onto a platter for the party, but we aren't going to be able to go through this before it gets moldy. So what I'm going to do is I'll probably just freeze these. I don't even think I'll bother vacuum sealing this. I'll just throw it in a Ziploc bag. Then I've got salami here. Nothing, again, was out of the fridge for the whole night. These just came out of the package, so I do have quite an abundance. I'm gonna open this up and I'm gonna freeze it in smaller portions as well, because this will be way too much to ever use at one time. I also have some prosciutto, so I'll probably just split this in half and vacuum seal and freeze that as well. These cheeses haven't been opened yet, but I do find, like, this is not completely airtight and it can go moldy if it sits too long in the fridge. So I'm going to simply cut it into sections and vacuum seal it. I won't freeze it, but I'll just portion it out, vacuum seal it, and it can stay in the fridge. I divide the cheese into sizes that I think are appropriate for us. Now, let me tell you something about this bag. So when I first was thinking about getting a vacuum sealer, I was definitely concerned about the single-use plastic, trying to cut down on single-use plastics and trying to use glass more often for storing food in. However, it is what it is. If you have a vacuum sealer, you're going to be using plastic. So the first little while that I had it, I was trying to be very careful and cut the bags to just the right size because I didn't want any waste. So I would trim the bag as close as I could so there was just enough room to seal whatever I was sealing. But after a bit, it occurred to me that if I give it a little extra room, for example, with the cheese here, you can see that there's a lot of extra plastic left here, but what that means is when I decide I need a section of cheese, I'm going to just very carefully cut a nice straight line right along this edge here. The bag will open. I'll take out whatever I want, if I just want one piece or two pieces, and then I still will have enough bag left over to vacuum seal it again. So I can reuse this bag time and time again. And the only thing that I'm gonna waste or throw away is about 1.25 inches of plastic off of the end. So that is the best way. Now, if I'm vacuum sealing raw meat, I'm not gonna reuse those bags. It's just a little too hard to get in and ensure that you're cleaning it really, really thoroughly. So if it's just cheese or if it's frozen vegetables, then I just carefully, using a bottle brush, wash the bag out when I'm done, and then I reuse the bag again. Into the fridge these go. Okay, slices of cheese. If I was going to use this on a grilled cheese sandwich, then I'd probably, depending on how many of us there were here eating, I'd only have to take, a couple slices out. But if I want to top a lasagna or something like that, then obviously I'd be using more. So I guess I'm just going to have to freeze them in a way that allows me to decide how much I want to use later. And it just means one piece of wax paper, so that's fine. So cheese is there, and now we're just going to fold it up. I guess I could spread these a little bit more. I'm going to get that into a Ziploc bag. I could vacuum seal this, but we'll probably use it before too long, so a Ziploc bag is fine. Here we go. I've portioned out the salami. I put it on a baking sheet on parchment paper. I'm gonna put this in the freezer. I'm gonna let it freeze for about an hour and a half before I start packaging it. What I do now with any deli meat or sandwich meat is I freeze it first, then once it's frozen, we're gonna package it, and it's less likely to stick together once we vacuum seal. Okay, salami is frozen. And now I'm going to, firstly, I made little piles that would be appropriate for making pizza. So this is good for 2 small pizzas, which would be enough if it was just my husband and I. So if we were gonna do several pizzas for a larger group, if the kids were gonna be over, all I would have to do is take out more pieces. So it's as simple as that. I'm gonna just line these up like that, fold them over, and I guess I could do one more layer. Just sort of sandwich them between the wax paper. I do find wax paper is preferable over parchment for doing this. That just seems to work a little better for me without any sticking. Oh, and I'm gonna vacuum seal these. So where is my bag? Here it is. Now, I've done this in the past without freezing the salami first, but I guess that there was just enough moisture in the meat that would, even though I was separating them between parchment or wax paper, back then it was parchment, even though I was separating them, I still had some problems with the different portions sticking together. So that's why I like to do it this way now. Oh, I may have to do, I just want to give enough space so I can fold. Wait, what's going on? Why is this not working? I don't want to do that. Yes, this is how I do it. Okay. Sorry for my confusion. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, so if you pre-freeze it, it will make it easier to pull apart. Just trust me on that. I need one more little piece, just a little bigger than what I need. So I'm going to tear this in half. No point in wasting it. I'll use it for something else. So there we go. I'm just going to fold that up. Now I'm going to take this and vacuum seal it. All right, there we go. It is vacuum sealed, airtight, and this is the edge that I will just simply slice off when I want to open up this package. I'll be able to take however much I want, and I'll still have enough plastic. I'll still have enough bag left over that I can just simply vacuum seal this again. So there we go. This is going to be good for, I would say, for a year or even longer. Time for the prosciutto. I'm just going to divide it roughly in half. Now, same as with the salami, I'm going to pre-freeze this and then I'll vacuum seal it in 2 portions. And here's the prosciutto. It is frozen. So we're going to do just the same thing that we did with the salami and get it into a bag. I'll vacuum seal this because it's not something that I'm going to be using very often or in the near future. And here we go, vacuum sealed, labeled, and dated. Okay, as for the cookies, these are gonna just go into the freezer. Then the shortbread is a little more fragile and delicate, so I put it into that little takeout container, and now I'm gonna vacuum seal this. There we go, nice and sealed. And that can go in the freezer. Okay, one last thing is my lime and lemon juice. Now, I did overestimate the amount of lemon drop martinis I was gonna be making for my party the other day. So My husband was so kind as to squeeze all of these lemons and limes for me. Never used it all, so I want to freeze them. This is going to be a bit of an experiment today because I'm going to freeze them in my super cubes, which I've done before. However, the last time I did this, I took the frozen cubes and I moved them into a mason jar in my freezer, and they ended up sticking together. So this time I'm going to freeze them here in the super cubes, and then I think I'm going to put them into a Ziploc bag. And I really hope that they don't turn into one gigantic cube. But like I said, it's an experiment. To make it easier to pour, I'm going to put them into a measuring cup. I am filling the cubes up to the 2 tablespoon mark. I find it best to put the super cubes on a tray and then place that in the freezer, just because it's going to go on top of a bunch of lumpy things in my freezer, and I want them to stay as flat as possible. Okay, I just popped these out of the freezer, and I think just as an extra measure, I'm going to just put them, oh, they're cute and they are frozen, but you know what? I'm kind of rushing this along because I have other stuff I have to get done. So I just want to pop these out. Okay, so I'm popping this back into the freezer to really freeze a little better. I'll have enough to get 8 cubes here. On goes the lid into the freezer. Okay, I've labeled these bags. I'm going to use the green for the lime cubes, yellow for the lemon cubes. The lemon cubes are not frozen yet because I just got them into the freezer. So when they're done, I'll pop them in the bag, and I don't need to keep you around for all of that. It's gonna look just like this, but with lemon juice. So I'm just gonna try to squeeze as much of the air out as possible and get this into the freezer. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll consider getting a vacuum sealer. It honestly is one of the best, handiest tools to have in your kitchen. Bye.